Imagine the scent of honeyed wax and warm wood in the air. Imagine the flicker of candlelight dancing on walls. Our story today begins on the last medieval night of October in a small Flemish village tucked among low hills and winding canals. In a modest cottage at the edge of the village, the candlemaker sits by his workbench, preparing for one of the most sacred tasks of his craft. The candlemaker's name is Corin. His hands are worn and steady, his eyes gentle and calm. Tonight, he dips candles of beeswax and tallow, slow and methodical, each one rising and falling in the warm, unhurried glow of his hearth. In each candle, he hides a slender thread of silver, a secret blessing passed down through generations. It is said these silver-threaded candles will protect a home through winter's longest nights, guarding it against cold, shadow, and wandering spirits. As dusk deepens, the medieval village quiets. Doors are barred, windows shuttered. The last crows settle in the rooftops. The wind sighs through bare branches. In Corin's workshop, the hearth glows softly, warm and unwavering. The beeswax melts gently. The tallow pools golden in its pan. He lifts the dipped candle from the wax, lets each drop settle, then returns it to the flame's embrace. The rhythm is calm, eternal. Dip, cool, dip, cool, dip, cool. You may imagine yourself there, seated across from him, watching the soft glow. You feel the faint warmth on your skin. You breathe the sweet scent of honeyed wax and faint smoke. You feel peace settling in your chest. Outside the window, the moon is pale and high, veiled in thin clouds. The canal water reflects silver strands of moonlight. Far off, a church bell tolls once, slow, distant, echoing. The villagers have long believed that candles lit with such care and faith may keep shadows at bay through the cold months, offering light and solace when nights stretch long. Corin pauses now, wiping a bead of wax from his cheek. He selects a new, blank leaden, pale tallow, waiting in the rack, and lowers it into the warm bath. As he dips, he threads the silver wire through its center, burying the shine deep in wax. The wire is thin, nearly invisible, but Corin's fingers know exactly where to place it. For each turn, the candle's glow will hold that hidden gleam for months to come. Now he lifts the candle, lets the wax harden for a moment, then returns it for one more coating. The flicker of the hearthlight magnifies the shimmer of liquid wax. He hums softly a single note, slow, sustaining an old lullaby of light and protection. You can lean closer if you wish. Feel the gentle hum of the lamp, the softness of the air warmed by wax and flame. The shadows on the walls seem to breathe. The world outside the workshop fades. Only candle, craft, and quiet remain. Corin sets the new candle aside to cool. He arranges others, some slender tapers, others squat pillars, each one threaded with silver inside. He rubs his fingers along their smooth bodies, blessing them in silence. May your light hold home safe. He steps to a shelf and fetches small glass jars of herbs, lavender, rue, rosemary. He sprinkles a few petals into melted wax in a shallow bowl, stirring gently until the scent mingles, soft, floral, protective. Medieval tradesfolk often believed that herbs and charms woven into everyday crafts could guard against ill fortune and cold spirits. Corin does this quietly, as one brushing a prayer into wax. You feel that perfume now, drifting, lavender, honey, warm earth. It weaves around your shoulders like a cloak. You breathe it in, letting tension slip away. Let your eyelids grow soft. He takes a slender candle, a delicate taper, and lights it from the hearth flame. The flame catches and steadies. He holds it near his heart, eyes closing for a moment. In his mind, he offers gratitude to those who came before, those who will live by its light. Each candle is a promise that through winter's long, dark, a home may stand warm, shielded, luminous. As the night deepens, Corin's workshop grows still. The only sounds are the soft drip of wax, the whisper of his breath, and the low hum of that lullaby. The flame flickers against the low beams. Shadows dance in slow arcs. You may imagine that you recline in a chair by the hearth, watching. You feel entirely safe, entirely held. The world beyond these walls exists, but it seems distant. The warmth, light, and a gentle craft matter here. Corin arranges finished candles on wooden boards, spacing them so they cool evenly. He steps to a window and glances out. The village rooftops sleep beneath silver mist. The canal water glints faintly. No sound of life stirs beyond the hush. He returns to his bench and selects a final candle, the one intended for his own hearth. With reverence, he threads silver through it, dips it slowly, layers wax until it stands strong and luminous. He places it in the hearth before the embers, lighting it with deliberate care. The flame dances steady, casting a gentle glow in the room's corners. He settles into his chair, candlelight dancing across his face. He closes his eyes, letting warmth seep through him. He listens to the soft crackle of flame, the distant night sigh, the rustle of wax cooling. You too, now, may close your eyes. Feel your breath's slow ease. Let the softness of candlelight envelop your mind. Let the scent of wax and herbs lull every muscle. Let your thoughts drift, dissolve. Know that this candle holds a secret strength, a silver thread hidden inside, a promise that even when cold nights arrive, light endures. Through darkness, it speaks. You are safe. You are warm. As Corin drifts toward sleep beneath that glow, the world beyond his windows fades. The candle stands sentinel through night's hours, guarding dream and home alike. And as you drift to trust in the ancient craft, the faith woven in wax, the promise of light. Now, the hours drift deeper into night. The medieval village of Corvendra, folded among frost-kissed fields, sleeps beneath its canopy of cloud and moon. Each house, each barn, each quiet lane holds a hush so profound that even the owl's wings seem to move through velvet. Inside his workshop, Corin, the middle-aged chandler, leans back in his chair. The glow of candlelight wavers against the ceiling beams. Wax pools gently in the iron pot before him, gleaming like liquid amber. The air smells of beeswax and faint smoke, clean, warm, and alive. He feels the day's labor in his arms, but it is not weariness that fills him. It is a deep, contented stillness, the kind that settles upon the heart after a promise well kept. When he opens his eyes again, he sees the row of candles he has crafted, dozens of them, each smooth and pale, lined neatly upon the oak table. Some more tall, meant for the church's nave, some short and wide for the cottages of his neighbors. And in every one lies a thread of silver, hidden, shining quietly in the dark. The custom is old, older than any written word in this place. It is said that when the harvest is done and Samhain's breath begins to frost the eaves, each chandler in Flanders would melt beeswax and mix it with prayer, casting into each candle a sign of protection, a symbol unseen but felt, some used threads of hair, some pressed small tokens of tin. Corin uses silver, for silver, the priests once said, is the color of light caught between worlds, the shimmer of dawn and dusk, the edge between living and lost. He believes this, not as superstition, but as a kindness. So he sits in his workshop and listens to the quiet murmur of the wax. It seems to sigh as it cools, a soft, sleepy sound, like the whisper of sheets being drawn over a resting child. You may imagine it now, the faint creak of wood, the steady heartbeat of the flame, the scent of honey and smoke weaving through your breath. It feels safe, like returning to something you've always known, but forgotten until this moment. Corin lifts one of the cooled candles, turning it gently in his hands. The surface is smooth, marbled faintly by the sheen of drying wax. He tilts it toward the hearth, and for an instant, the silver thread glimmers within. He smiles, quietly, as if recognizing an old friend. There is a legend, one his mother told him when he was small, that the silver thread in a candle is more than a charm. It is a promise between worlds. For when a person lights such a candle on the longest night, its flame carries their thoughts to those who have gone before. And in return, the light of those remembered ones returns warmth to the living. It is said that as long as the flame endures, no spirit of frost or shadow may enter the home. The light itself becomes a guardian, burning softly, patiently through the hours when wind howls at shutters and snow swirls at the door. The sound of wind fades, the mind grows quieter, the heart rests. A knock comes at the medieval workshop door, soft, hesitant, 3 small taps. Corin, a middle-aged man, sets down the candle and rises. When he opens the door, a chill rushes in, carrying with it the scent of wet leaves and smoke. On the step stands a woman wrapped in a wool shawl, old Annalise, the widow who lives near the millstream. Her hands tremble as she holds out a coin wrapped in cloth. For the winter, she whispers. Just 1 candle. Corin takes the coin, but gently presses it back into her palm. Keep it, he says, his voice low and kind. He selects one of the silver-threaded candles from his shelf, a sturdy one with a smooth, rounded base, and hands it to her. Light this when the first snow falls, he tells her. Let it burn until dawn. It will remember you kindly. The woman's eyes glimmer with gratitude. She nods, then disappears into the night mist. Corin closes the door softly, but for a moment he stands there with his hand still on the latch, listening to the echo of her footsteps fade into the fog. When he returns to his bench, he sits once more before the hearth. The flames sway lazily, their glow washing the room in shades of gold and amber. He stirs the pot of wax again, not out of need, but out of rhythm. The motion is soothing, a meditation. He breathes in, and the warmth fills his lungs. K. He breathes out, and the world feels a little softer. K. You may follow that rhythm now, in and out, wax and flame, light and shadow, each breath dipping and rising like his hand in the wax. Outside, the wind grows gentler. A few flakes of early frost drift past the medieval window pane. The night is utterly still. In this quiet, Corin feels the presence of all those before him, candle makers long gone, their tools now dust, their names forgotten, yet their light still burning through the centuries. K. He thinks of them as keepers of promise. K. Their craft was never just about wax or wick, but about faith. Faith that even the smallest flame can defy the vast dark. He closes his eyes and lets that faith fill him until it becomes indistinguishable from rest. The hour grows late, but in Corin's cottage, time drifts like smoke. The fire hums quietly, the wax cools in its bowl, and the rows of candles gleamed faintly in the half-light. Our story drifts deeper now into the hushed hours between midnight and dawn, where time moves like breath, slow, soft, and silver. Corin, the middle-aged medieval chandler, rests his elbows on the worn oak table. The flickering light paints his weathered hands in warm gold. He listens to the quiet hiss of the hearth, to the faint tick of cooling wax, and to something else, something deeper. It is a sound you might not hear with your ears, but feel in your bones, a hum that seems to live within the silence itself, the gentle heartbeat of a still world. If you listen closely, you might sense it too, a rhythm beneath your thoughts, steady, calm, the same rhythm that draws you inward, toward that place where waking fades into dream. Beyond the workshop walls, the medieval village sleeps. The church bell has long since tolled its midnight hour, but stillness has weight now, as though even time holds its breath. Corin's eyes trace the medieval window pane. A thin frost has begun to bloom upon the glass, delicate and pale, like lace spun for moonlight. He remembers winters long ago, when his mother would place candles in each window on the last night of October. She would whisper, "One for those we've lost, and one for those still here." And, as a boy, he would watch the tiny flames and imagine they were stars fallen to earth, each one guarding their home until dawn returned. That memory warms him even now. And perhaps, as you imagine it, a similar warmth blooms softly within you. Not heat, but comfort, as if someone long ago had lit a candle and left it burning just for you. A faint sound stirs beyond the door. Not a knock this time, just a rustle, a sigh carried by wind. Corin rises, candle in hand, and opens the door to the fog-draped night. The mist swirls gently across the threshold, glowing faintly in the candle's light. It curls like breath, like silk, like thought. Then, through it, a shape, a small bird, wings glimmering faintly silver in the moonlight. It perches upon the railing, silent, its eyes dark and glistening. Corin smiles softly. "Ah," he murmurs. "You've come for the light, haven't you?" The bird tilts its head, as if understanding. It places the candle upon the step, its flame steady even in the cool wind. And for a moment, the mist seems to bow around it, as though the night itself acknowledges this small act of kindness. The bird chirps once, a tiny, crystalline sound, and then takes flight, vanishing into the silver dark sky. Corin stands there, watching until the ripples of mist settle again. He closes the door quietly. Back inside, the warmth welcomes him once more. Corin returns to his bench, and there, beside the wax and wick, lies his mother's old candle mold, the one he keeps only for All Hallows Eve. It is made of bronze, its edges worn smooth with use, its handle shaped like a tiny wing. He touches it gently, his thumb tracing the small dents and ridges left by years of work. He remembers her voice, soft and sure. "When you pour the wax, do it slowly, as if you're pouring a wish." And so he does. He lifts the ladle and lets the golden wax flow, slowly, steadily, filling the mold like honey into a comb. You might imagine that now, the molten wax gliding, glimmering, its surface catching the light of the hearth. The scent of beeswax deepens, sweet, rich, grounding. It fills the air with peace. Each drop is a heartbeat. Each breath, a wave of calm. He lowers a thin thread of silver into the center, then seals it with another layer of wax. The thread vanishes, hidden within, just as hope often hides inside quiet acts of care. He lets it cool. The world outside disappears. There is only warmth and the steady glow of creation. The hour is deep now, the kind of hour when the veil between things feels thin. Corin senses it in the air, that shimmering stillness that comes when the living and the lost breathe the same silence. He lights one of the candles, a silver-threaded one, and watches as the flame steadies. It burns with a peculiar grace, its center white, its edge is tinged faintly blue. And though he cannot say why, he feels less alone. The air seems to hum softly around him, as though old voices, long quiet, have returned to watch the light with him. Not ghosts, not spirits, just memories given form by flame. He does not fear them. He simply breathes and lets the peace of their presence settle into his bones. Perhaps you can feel it too, that gentle, luminous calm that comes when you remember something sacred and safe. The feeling that no matter how cold the night becomes, there will always be a light somewhere burning for you. The medieval candle workshop drifts deeper into stillness. The fire sighs low in the hearth. Wax cools in rippled pools along the table. And above it all, the silver-threaded candle burns on a quiet promise made of flame and faith. Corin, a middle-aged man, leans back, eyes growing heavy, and lets the world blur softly around the edges. The candle flickers once, as though nodding with him. Outside, the wind quiets to a whisper. The whole village sleeps. The night deepens into that soft, silken hour before dawn, when dreams begin to stir in the spaces between heartbeats, and the world seems to hum with something unseen. Corin's eyelids grow heavy, his breath slowing to the rhythm of the fire. Each exhale is a gentle sigh, each inhale a thread of peace. The candle before him burns steady, unwavering. Its light bends and shimmers, casting golden ripples across the wooden walls. He watches the flame sway back and forth, like a pendulum made of light, and, as he watches, something begins to change. The flame grows taller, its glow softening to silver. The air hums faintly, not with sound, but with feeling, like the quiet thrill of snow just before it falls. Then the flame wavers, and from it a shape begins to form. It rises slowly, a slender figure woven from light and warmth. Her form shimmers like wax, melting in reverse, spilling upward instead of down. Her hair drifts like threads of gold smoke, and her eyes, when they open, shine like tiny mirrors, reflecting the stars. Corin does not startle. Hai has lived long enough to know that some nights the boundary between this world and the next is thinner than a breath. He bows his head slightly, his voice low and reverent. "Are you one of them?" he asks softly. "One of the ones my candles are meant for." The spirit tilts her head, and when she speaks, her voice sounds like the faint crackle of a wick, gentle, rhythmic, endlessly calm. "Not one of them," she whispers, "but of what they were. You light these flames, and through them, memory learns to breathe." Her hand, if light can have a hand, reaches toward the candle. The flame bends toward her like a flower to sunlight. "You have kept your promise," she murmurs. "Each year, the light returns. Each year, it protects." Corin swallows, his voice almost a sigh. "And will it always?" The spirit's gaze softens. "So long as kindness lives in hands that craft, and warmth in hearts that tend. Yes." Her words settle into the air, slow and soothing, like dust in sunlight. Then, as she steps closer, the workshop around them begins to shift. The walls fade to soft shadow. The floor becomes mist. Corin stands, yet feels no weight beneath his feet. Ha! And in that dreamlike stillness, a scene unfolds. He sees the same village, but centuries younger. Stone cottages stand fresh and strong, the thatched roofs bright with dew. Children run with lanterns, their laughter echoing like bells through the night. At the hill's crest, a great bonfire blazes, its flames bright against the dusk. Villagers gather round, passing small candles from one to another, lighting each from the sacred flame. The spirit's voice murmurs near his ear. This was the night of Samhain, when light was borrowed from the fire of the hill and carried home to every hearth. No soul was left in darkness then. He watches as the villagers smile, their faces painted in amber glow. He feels their joy, quiet, ancient, familiar, memory that isn't his, but could have been. He looks down at the small candle in his dream hand. Its wick glows softly, not burning, but alive, as if its flame is sleeping. The first sigh of dawn breathes across the rooftops of the little medieval Flemish village. The fog that once blanketed the world now curls back toward the hills, revealing glimmers of thatched cottages, cobblestone lanes, and small square windows still lit with flickering gold. Each window holds a candle, Corin's candles, detracted, honey-scented. Each one burns with a calm and steady flame. If you could walk through those quiet streets now, you would feel it, that hush of peace that lingers in air touched by care, the kind of stillness that hums like a lullaby and makes even the birds delay their song just a little longer. Inside the candlemaker's workshop, the air still holds the warmth of the hearth. Corin rests in his chair, his head bowed slightly, his hands folded over his apron. Beside him, the last candle burns low, its light soft and blue at the edges, like a dream beginning to fade into morning. Outside, the village stirs slowly awake. A mill wheel creaks to life. A baker's door opens with a sigh. You can almost hear the faint rustle of broom bristles sweeping doorsteps clean, the sound of soft footsteps on damp cobblestone, the whisper of river water beneath the bridge. And still the candles glow in every medieval window, small golden hearts beating against the cool morning light. A mother pauses at her table, her hands still dusted with flour, and gazes at the candle before her. Her daughter asks, "Mama, why do we light it?" The mother smiles softly, her voice low. "So that no soul feels lost," she says. "So that warmth knows the way home." And though the child does not yet understand, she nods and watches the flame dance gently, like it is nodding back. Back in his workshop, Corin stirs, his eyes open slowly, not startled, but calm, as if waking from a dream he knows he'll never quite remember, but will always feel. He rises, stretching the stiffness from his shoulders. Sunlight spills through the frosted panes, breaking into rainbows as it touches cooling pools of wax. He picks up one of the candles, turning it in his hands. It catches the light, gold at first, then silver, deep within. He smiles. In that glimmer, he thinks he sees a reflection, a figure of light, just for a moment. The faintest curve of a face, the shadow of a hand raised in quiet farewell. He does not speak. He only bows his head once and sets the candle back down. Outside, the wind moves gently through the streets. It carries with it the faint scent of beeswax and smoke, the memory of flame. The air itself feels sacred, as though the night has left behind its blessing, woven through every sigh, every breath. If you close your eyes now, you might feel it too, that tender warmth that curls behind your ribs where the heart begins to rest. In that feeling, there is safety, there is softness, there is the knowing that all light, no matter how small, was once made by hands that cared. And just as the medieval villagers believed their candles protect through winter's long dark, so too may this light within you keep you warm, even through your quietest nights. As the day unfolds, Corin, a middle-aged medieval man, takes his place at the window, watching smoke rise from chimneys, watching neighbors smile as they pass. He hears laughter, the kind that rings true and clear. And beneath it all, he feels the steady rhythm of the world returning to its gentle pace. He reaches into his apron pocket and draws out a small, unlit candle, the last of a night's work. Lifting it to the morning sun, he murmurs his promise, softly, so only the light can hear. As long as wax and wick remain, I will make them. For warmth, for love, for peace. Then he lights it from the flame still burning beside him. The new candle catches immediately, its wick flaring once before settling into calm. And in that glow, something stirs deep within him, a quiet joy, a still certainty that his work has meaning far beyond what eyes can see. The promise has been kept. The light will last. The story lingers just a little longer. The sound of the candle's soft crackle, the hush of morning wind brushing across stone. And then, slowly, the world around you begins to fade into stillness. The candle burns low, its flame bowing gently, content. The night's work is done. The promise is fulfilled. There will always be light, even in the longest night, even in the smallest flame. Now, close your eyes if you wish, and let your breath drift like mist over still water, because our story tonight begins at the edge of a river called Hollowmere. 'Tis All Hallows Eve, long ago, when candles burn low in medieval cottage windows, and the air hums with the scent of wood smoke and damp leaves. Our story begins just before midnight, when the sky is the color of pewter and the fog lies thick upon the ground. The medieval village of Hollowmere sleeps, its chimneys sighing faint wisps into the mist. But one man is still awake. He is the tollkeeper of the bridge, a simple stone crossing that arches over the slow, dark river. His name is Callum Grafin, and each year, on this one night, he walks the path to the bridge to leave a coin for those unseen. He does not speak much of it. He does not need to. The tradition is older than his memory, older than the bridge itself. They say medieval bridges are thresholds, neither land nor water, neither here nor there, places where the worlds touch, if only for a breath. So, each sown, when the veil is thin and souls may wander, the tollkeeper leaves a token, an offering of silver for travelers who walk not by day, but by moonlight and memory. Callum walks slowly down the muddy lane, his boots and edges of his cloak brushing through fallen leaves. The mist curls around him like breath, and the night carries a quiet music, the soft lapping of the river below, the hush of wind weaving through bare branches, carries a lantern, its small flame a steady heartbeat against the fog. Each step is measured, each motion unhurried, the rhythm of someone who has made this journey 100 times before. The bridge rises ahead, arched and time-worn, its stones slick with dew and moss. It glows faintly in the lantern light, a ghostly pale curve stretching across dark water. Callum pauses at its base, takes a breath, and steps onto the first stone. Beneath him, the river moves slowly, a mirror of cloud and mist, a living ribbon of shadow. He listens to its murmur. It is a low, endless sound, as though the water itself remembers every whisper it has ever carried, every prayer, every song, every final goodbye. Halfway across, Callum stops. He sets his lantern on the cold rail, its flame flickering gold against the pale fog. From his coat pocket, he draws a single coin, old, tarnished, and cool against his palm. For a long moment, he holds it between thumb and finger, gazing at its dull gleam. Then he lays it gently on the stone ledge, just at the bridge's center. The coin makes a soft sound as it meets the rock, a clink, light and clear, like a drop of rain falling into still water. And there it rests, his offering for the souls who may pass tonight. The villagers believe this toll ensures safe passage for the lost, the wandering, and those who cross unseen. It is said that the river accepts such offerings kindly, carrying them downstream to places no map can reach. Callum bows his head. He whispers the old blessing, his voice nearly lost to the fog. By coin and flame, by earth and stream, may all who wander safely dream. The words float into the mist like feathers on air. Then, silence again. For a while, nothing stirs, only the faint hiss of water against stone and the heartbeat pulse of the lantern's glow. And yet, if you listen carefully, you might hear something softer still, a shift, a change, as though the night itself leans closer. Callum feels it, a gentle stillness, a quiet weight pressing against his skin, the kind of hush that fills a medieval church before prayer. He does not turn, but he senses he is not alone. Perhaps a traveler has come to cross, one unseen by human eyes, but drawn by the kindness of the offering. He does not look for them. He only waits, his breath slow and even, his hand resting lightly on the stone rail. The air seems to hum. The mist shifts, shapes forming and dissolving again. Perhaps only tricks of light. Perhaps something more. Somewhere beyond the bridge, a soft ripple touches the surface of the water. A faint, delicate sound, like a footstep upon glass. And then, ... silence again. Callum lifts the lantern. His cloak pulls across his arm, the light swaying gently in his grasp. He gazes once more at the coin. It is damp with mist, gleaming faintly, but it seems to pulse with a warmth that was not there before. He nods once, a gesture of respect, and turns toward home. Behind him, the fog closes softly over the medieval bridge. The river's whisper resumes endless, soothing, like the breath of the world itself, as Callum's footsteps fade into the distance. Imagine yourself now standing there, alone, upon the old stone bridge. You feel the cool mist brushing against your face. You hear the low hum of water beneath your feet. The night breathes slowly, and so do you. The river moves below, dark but gentle, carrying every sound away like a lullaby. In the faint glow of the lantern's retreating light, the single coin gleams, a small promise, a simple kindness. You realize that this bridge is not just stone. It is a place between moments, between thoughts, between one breath and the next. And here, in this stillness, you feel deeply safe. You are neither here nor there. You are simply ... drifting, held in quiet, cradled by mist, listening to the slow, endless song of a medieval Hollowmere. As you linger there in that hush, your eyelids grow heavy, and for a moment it's hard to tell whether you stand awake beneath the stars or whether you are dreaming. Because sometimes, on a medieval Samhain night, the world folds in upon itself, and one realm slips softly into the next. Perhaps that is what happens now. Perhaps it is only a dream. The mist parts just enough for you to see. There, beneath the arch, the water gleams like a pane of black glass, and within that glass, shapes begin to shimmer. At first, they are faint, like candlelight reflected in rain. Then, little by little, they take form, faces, hands, voices moving through water as though through smoke. They are not frightening. Their presence is calm, slow, ancient. These are the ones the old tales spoke of, the crossers, souls who wait by the water's edge for the way to open. They do not walk the earth to haunt it. They move to remember, to visit the places that once held warmth, to listen again to the sound of fire, or the laughter of a child, or the tollkeeper's lantern swinging in the dark. You feel them draw near, not to harm, but to be known. And just as you might greet a traveler who has walked far in silence, you let your mind whisper peace on your journey. The water brightens faintly, a small current ripples out, and in it the silver coin trembles where it rests. A soft chime, barely sound at all, spreads through the mist. The crossers turn toward it. One by one, they pass beneath the bridge, each pausing, each bowing their head to the offering. And with every soul that passes, the water grows clearer, the night gentler, the weight in your chest lighter. Far away, though perhaps not far at all, Callum sits by his hearth, wrapped in his cloak. His lantern rests on the table beside him, its wick burned low but steady. His tollkeeper stares into the flames, listening to their soft crackle. He feels the faintest breeze against his face, as though the door had opened, though it has not. He knows what it means. He has left his gift, and the river has accepted it. Still, his thoughts wander back to the very first night he kept the toll. He was a young man then, barely older than a boy. The river had flooded that autumn, washing away part of the medieval bridge. When the water finally fell, the villagers rebuilt it stone by stone. And when it was done, Callum's father, the tollkeeper before him, taught him the rite of the coin. He remembered how his father spoke of it, not as superstition, but as courtesy, we cross many bridges in a life. Callum, the old man, had said, some made of stone, some made of time. Always leave a kindness behind you. You never know who will follow. That night, when his father passed away, Callum placed the first silver coin on the bridge alone. He remembered how cold it felt. He remembered how long he waited. And he remembered, though he told no one, hearing footsteps that were not his own. Now, many years later, he still makes the walk. The medieval bridge endures, and so does the toll. He never asks who comes to collect it. He never removes the coin once left. By morning, it is always gone. He only knows that the village remains safe. The ferryman never fails. The travelers never drown. The dead never cry out. And that is enough. He leans back in his chair, wrapped in his cloak, the firelight dancing across his lined face. He closes his eyes. Outside, the fog presses gently against the windows, as though the night itself is listening. Return to the bridge. Meanwhile, on the bridge, you can feel the same stillness settle into your heart. The night has grown deeper now, the moon hidden, the mist glowing faintly with its own quiet light. The water murmurs softly below, its tone lower, more peaceful. The air is heavy with moss and damp stone. You reach out once more to touch the bridge's rail. The stone is smooth now, as though worn by centuries of offerings. And beneath your hand, you feel a faint warmth, not of fire, but of gratitude. Something unseen has passed and left peace in its wake. You take a deep breath, feeling it fill you completely, like mist filling the valley, like moonlight filling still water. You might almost believe that if you whispered your own wish into the mist, the water would carry it too downstream, toward whatever world waits beyond the bend. The medieval bridge of Hollowmere stands as it always has, half in this world, half in the next, watchful, patient, kind. The fog has thickened, soft and silver, wrapping the medieval bridge in quiet folds. The world feels smaller here, as if all the edges of time have curved inward, closing gently around this moment. The air hums with the breath of the river. The water below whispers stories older than the tollkeeper, older than the stones themselves. And somewhere in the night, a bell tolls faintly, not a church bell, but the low, hollow tone of a bell made for remembering. In his sleepy medieval cottage, wrapped warmly in his cloak, Callum has drifted into sleep. The fire in his hearth has burned to a soft amber glow, and the air smells faintly of peat and rain. He dreams of the bridge, not as it is now, weathered and mossed, but as it was long ago, new and proud, its stones still white from the quarry. In the dream, the river runs clear, and sunlight spills across its surface in long golden threads. People cross, farmers, monks, travelers, each leaving a small coin on the rail and whispering a prayer of safe return. And at the far end of the bridge, a woman stands. She is veiled in linen, her hands folded at her waist, and though Callum cannot see her face, he knows somehow that she is waiting. When he approaches, she lifts her head and says, in a voice like wind through reeds, "Do you remember why the toll began?" He shakes his head. The bridge hums beneath his feet. "It was not always for the dead," she says. "In the beginning, it was for the living, for those who lost their way between one shore and the next. The river claimed many, and the people made their peace with it. They learned that if they offered something of value, the water would return kindness in kind." She steps closer, and her outline blurs at the edges, like mist catching sunlight. "Every coin you leave, every prayer you whisper, does not vanish," she says. "It becomes part of the bridge. It's part of the river's memory. And one day, when you too must cross, it will remember you." Her words sink into him like warm rain. He wants to speak, to ask who she is, but the dream shifts, and she fades into the light. Callum stirs in his sleep. The room flickers, as if the flame in his hearth has found new breath. For a moment, he sees, not with his eyes, but somewhere deeper, the river beneath the bridge, rolling black and endless. In that darkness, something gleams. Hundreds of coins, thousands perhaps, rest upon the silt, silver and copper, some so old they bear no face at all, some bright as if newly struck. They catch the light that is not light, a glow that comes from the water itself. It's pulsing softly, like the slow heartbeat of the earth. And through that light, figures move soft, translucent, neither young nor old. They gather the coins, not as treasure, but as remembrance. Each coin becomes a star in their hands, spark rising upward through the dark water, turning into fireflies that vanish into the night. Callum, even in dreaming, feels peace. The river does not hoard. It keeps nothing that is not freely given. It only remembers, and in remembering, it blesses. Back on the medieval bridge, the fog begins to thin. The first hint of dawn touches the clouds, soft gray brushed with the faintest rose. The coin still lies on the stone rail, its silver sheen dulled by mist. Then, quietly, it begins to slide. No hand moves it, no breeze stirs. It simply glides forward, as though the stone itself were gently exhaling. It slips over the edge and falls a single, soft sound, like a bell struck underwater into the waiting river below. The ripples spread outward, wide and slow. They reach the far shore, touching reeds and roots, and then fade again. The offering has been accepted. In his cottage, Callum opens his eyes. For a moment, he does not know if he is awake or still within the dream. The fire has burned low, but a faint warmth lingers in the air. A warmth that seems to come not from the hearth, but from the river itself. He rises, wraps his cloak around his shoulders, and looks through the window. The fog glows faintly. The bridge is only a shadow in the distance, but he knows, as surely as breath, that the toll has been paid. He smiles, not with joy exactly, but with a quiet kind of knowing, a peace that comes from long trust. He whispers, to no one in particular, to everyone at once, "Thank you, old river." Then he sits again by the fire, lets his head rest against the chair, and listens to the slow, steady hush of the medieval Hollowmere drifting through the dawn. Now, as the pale light of dawn spills across the moor, the fog begins to lift in silken threads. It unwinds itself from the hedgerows, slips between the stones, and drifts slowly upward toward the open sky. The river reveals itself again, broad, dark, and gleaming faintly, like the back of a sleeping creature. Mist clings to its surface, thin as lace, until the rising sun warms it away. The bridge stands quiet. No footsteps cross it now. The world seems to pause, as if the land itself is taking its first waking breath. Callum steps outside, his boots soft against the damp earth. The air smells of moss and morning dew, the scent of clean beginnings. A faint trail of smoke rises from his medieval cottage chimney, curling upward into the pale light. He walks slowly toward the bridge, his lantern now dim in the growing glow. Each step feels unhurried, as if time has softened its edges for him. His breath clouds lightly in the cool air, but he doesn't mind. There is something about this hour, this quiet hour before the village stirs, that belongs only to him and the river. When he reaches the midpoint of the bridge, he rests a hand upon the worn stone rail. It feels smooth and cool beneath his fingers, a texture shaped by hundreds of years and countless passing palms. He looks down into the water. The surface is calm now, save for the gentle ripple of the current. And though he cannot see it, he knows the coin he left last night rests somewhere below, a small glimmer in the deep, a promise fulfilled. Sometimes, when the world is still like this, Callum thinks of those who once crossed this bridge. The merchants with their carts, the monks on their pilgrimages, the mothers leading children by the hand. And sometimes he imagines that their footsteps still echo faintly and the stones beneath him, not as ghosts, but as memories, folded into the world's rhythm. The bridge, after all, is more than wood and stone. It is a threshold, a place between two truths. On one side, the village, bright with hearth smoke and laughter. On the other, the unknown fields that fade into fog, and beyond them, whatever dreams may come. He thinks, perhaps, the bridge exists not just to carry travelers from one side to the other, but to remind them that every crossing, every choice, every day, is its own kind of journey. As he stands there, a soft wind stirs through the reeds. It carries a sound so delicate it might almost be imagined a whisper, low and fluid, woven through with the murmur of water. He listens, and though the words are not words, their meaning is clear. Thank you, keeper. The sound fades as gently as it came, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the faint lapping of water against the shore. Callum smiles. T does not look around, for he knows he is alone, and yet not entirely so. He feels the quiet weight of presence, a calm awareness that settles softly upon him. He closes his eyes, and in the darkness behind his lids, the world seems vast and luminous. When he opens his eyes again, the sun has risen higher. The first rays fall upon the river, turning its surface to shifting bands of gold. Mist dances upward, catching the light in fragile arcs. He feels that warmth reach him, seeping through his cloak, soothing the coolness in his bones. And as it does, a thought unfolds gently in his mind, like a medieval door opening in silence. The toll was never meant for the river alone. It was a gift to the self as well. Each coin left behind is a small act of release, a way to let go of what cannot follow across, to offer thanks for what has been and make space for what will be. The act itself, the pause, the placing of silver upon stone, becomes a ritual of remembering. And in that remembering, there is peace. Callum lingers for a moment longer, then turns toward his medieval cottage, the morning sun behind him. His steps are unhurried, his body light. When he reaches his door, he pauses, looking back one last time at the bridge. It glows faintly in the new light, the mist burned away, the stones bright as bone. He thinks of the souls who crossed in the night, and those who still might, of how all journeys, whether taken in flesh or in spirit, begin and end in silence. Inside, the heart fire flickers awake. He sits beside it, cups his hands around a bowl of broth, and lets the warmth spread through him. The soft crackle of the fire is like the voice of an old friend, low, steady, comforting. Caddis, he sips, he begins to drowse. His thoughts drift, not toward the past or the future, but somewhere in between, somewhere gentle. He dreams of the river, of its wide, dark current, carrying light and shadow together, the bridge, and the whisper of unseen travelers passing quietly beneath the dawn. The story becomes only a murmur now, a soft echo of river and wind. The bridge fades, though its feeling remains steady beneath you, guiding you toward the dream beyond.